Assalamu alaikum guys, I hope all of you are doing well. This is Bilal and I'm going to be your maths instructor for today. We are going to be doing 0580 maths May June 2024 paper 2-3. Alright, so before we begin, I'd like to share something very important. All revenue generated from this channel for the first 6 months will be donated to Palestine, inshallah. So please do like, subscribe, and share our channel to help support this cause. Alright, let's start. So we have question number 1 over here. Okay, which is write the number 2,002,002 in figures. Okay, so this is pretty simple. 2,002,022 in figures would be 2,002,002, and we're gonna put commas for our understanding. So 1 2 3 1 comma 1 2 3 1 comma. All right, so that is 2,002,002. All right, moving forward, put one pair of brackets into this calculation to make it correct. Okay, so we need to put one pair of brackets such that the answer comes to 0. Okay, so we need to think a bit, and we're going to do this by trial and error. Okay, so if we put a bracket over here, so 5 minus 4 would be minus 1, into 3 would be minus 3, then it would be minus 12, and then minus 12 minus 2 would become minus 14. So okay, that would not work. Okay, so what if we put a bracket over here? I think that would give us the correct answer, because that would mean 12. 12 minus 9 would be 3, 5 minus 3 would be 2, and 2 minus 2 would be 0. Yeah, so that is the correct answer. Alright, moving forward. Simplify 7x minus 8y minus x minus y. So bring all the like terms together. 7x minus x minus 8y minus y. Alright, so that should give us 6x minus 9y, and I suppose that is our final answer. Okay, we can also, you know, further simplify this if we take out a common, which would be 3 2x minus 3y. So we could write this or we could write this. So we could just write 6x minus 9y. Alright, moving forward. The base of a cuboid measures 10 centimeter by 7 centimeter. The volume of the cuboid is 280 centimeter cube. Okay, calculate the height of the cuboid. Okay, so first we need to know the volume of the cuboid. So volume is equals to length into width into height. All right, makes sense. So the volume is 280, and we would just equate this. So 10 into 7 into height. We do not know the height, so that would mean 280 over 70. And if we just simplify this, let me bring my calculator. That should give us 4. Perfect. Okay. 5. In a city, the probability that it will rain today is 0.15. Find the probability that it will not rain today in this city. Okay. So the probability of rain is 0.15, and we need to find out the probability of not rain. So the probability of not rain, as you all know, would be 1 minus the probability of rain. Okay, that would just mean 1 minus 0.15, and that should give us 0.85. Alright, perfect. So question number 6. Factorize completely 4x squared y minus 5x squared minus 5xy squared. Okay, so let's take out the common. So x 4xy minus 5y squared xy 4x minus 5y. Alright, and that is our final answer. Xy 4x minus 5y. Perfect. Pretty simple, right? Okay, next. Question number 7. The scale of a map is 1 ratio 40,000. On the map, the distance between two villages is 37 centimeters. Calculate the actual distance between the two villages. Give your answer in kilometers. Okay? So, we know that 1 kilometer is equal to 10,000. So 1 kilometer is equal to 100,000 centimeter, right? Because 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters, and in turn 1,000 meters are equal to 1,000 centimeters. So 1 kilometer equals 1,000 centimeters. Okay, and the scale of a map is 1 ratio 40,000. Okay, so what we could do is we could just say 37 is equals to 1 over 100,000. So what we're basically doing here is we're converting the centimeters into into kilometers. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. Okay, so we're gonna say 37 centimeter is equal to 1 over 100,000 kilometer. Okay, so that is the equation you basically have, that the actual distance would equal to 37 over 100,000 into 40,000, because that's a ratio. Does it make sense? So the actual distance, so x is equals to 37 over 100,000, okay, multiplied by the ratio that we have been given, that is 40,000. All right, makes sense? So if we simplify this, we would get, okay, and this would give us 14.8. All right, perfect. So without using a calculator, so we cannot use a calculator in this question. You must show all your workings and give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. All right, so we cannot use a calculator, and we need to figure out 3 upon 7 minus 1 over 14. So 3 over 7 minus 1 over 14. We will take the LCM. If we take the LCM, that would mean the LCM is 14. So that would mean 3 into 2 and 7 into 2. So that would mean 6 over 14 minus 1 over 14. And that would give us 6 minus 1 over 14. And that is 5 over 14. And that is our final answer. Pretty simple, right? 5 over 14. All right, moving on. The diagram shows a right angled triangle. Calculate AB. So basically AB is the base over here, and let's say we're going to take it as x. Okay, so x is AB. We need to calculate the length AB. Okay, so we could just use cos. Okay, so cos is cosatoa, right? So cos. Okay, so ka toa. I'm sorry, it's ka. So that would be adjacent over hypotenuse. So CHA. So we could say cos the angle 37. All right. And what is adjacent to this? Adjacent is a missing value. So x over our, our hypotenuse. So hypotenuse is the side opposite to your 90-degree angle. Okay. So that is 8. So that gives us 8. So that would be x is equals to cos 37 into 8, and that would give us 6.39. Perfect. Moving forward, question number 10. Find the gradient of the line joining the points minus 2 comma 7 and 3 comma minus 1. So we all know that the formula for gradient is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, so this is our x1, y1, x2, x2, y2. Alright, so let's just insert the values. So this will give us 1 minus 7 over 3 minus negative 2, and that should give us minus 6 over 5, and that is our final answer, minus 6 over 5. Perfect, pretty simple up until here. Okay, so solve the simultaneous equation. So there's a very simple simultaneous equation. Okay, we're going to use elimination for this, and we don't need to multiply by anything because these two will get cancelled right away. Okay, so that would just give us 5 plus 3, 8. So 8t is equals to 19 plus 5, which is 24. And t is equals to 24 over 8. And this would give us 3. Alright, so the value of t is 3. Now we need to figure out the value of w. So to figure out the value of w, simply put the value of t in any of the equations you like. Okay, so let's just put it in 5. 3 minus 2w is equals to 19. Okay, that would give us 5 is 15. So 15 minus 19 is equals to 2w, and that should give us minus 4 over 2, and minus 2 would be the value of w. Simple, pretty simple. Alright, so simplify 32g 16 and 16g to the power of 8. Alright, so firstly just simplify these numbers. Okay, so 16 twos are is 32. So what we're going to be left with is 2g16 over g8. Okay, make sense? That is what we're going to be left with basically. Okay, now let's bring it up. Let's bring the numerator up. So when you bring it up, the positive 8 becomes negative. Okay, so and it would be multiplied. So when powers are multiplied, all right, they are added. So g multiplied by g minus 8 and 16. Make sense? We bring it up, the power becomes negative, and these two get multiplied. So when something is multiplying, we add it. Okay, so this will just be 2g 16 plus minus 8, which means 16 minus 8. Alright, and that should give us 2g to the power of 8. Alright, perfect. Moving forward, 625k to the power of 8 whole to the power of 3 over 4. So this whole power is being multiplied by both, by 625 as well as 8k. So what if we break this down? What if we say 625 3 to the power of 4 multiplied by k8 3 to the power of 4? Make sense? And then we could just solve this. So 625 3 to the power of 4 would give us 125, and 8 k to the power of 8 multiplied by the power of 3 over 4 would give us k to the power of 6, and that would be our final answer, 125 k to the power of 6. Pretty simple, pretty standard questions. Alright, question number 13. Shade the region A union B. Okay, so basically we need to shade the region A union B. So what would that be? That would basically be that we need to shade A, okay, and we need to shade the region that is not B. Okay, so A and the region which is not B. Okay, so that would mean the whole of this region. Make sense? So basically we need to shade everything which is not B. Okay, something like this. All right, makes sense. Now use set notation to describe the shaded region. Okay, so the shaded region is only R. Okay, it's only R, and no part of P is included and no part of Q is included. Okay, so we're gonna say P union Q. All right, R. That is going to be our notation. All right, moving forward. P, Q, R, and T are points on the circle. AB is tangent to the circle at T. Angle ATP is 50 degrees. Angle PTR is 48. Find PQ is equals to QR. Okay, so we need to find out, basically we need to find out this angle. Okay, so this angle is 50. Okay, this angle is 50. Now we need to find the angle PRT. Okay, so where is PRT? So PRT is 50. Okay, how did we get to 50? We got 50 because this is an alternate segment. Okay, does it make sense? We use the formula of alternate segment theorem. Okay, so we're just gonna write over here alternate segment theorem, and angle PRT is 50 degrees. Pretty simple. All right, find angle QPR. All right, so QPR is basically this angle over here. All right, and this angle is going to be the same. Does it make sense? Okay, because this is what is known as a cyclic quadrilateral. Make sense? And this angle is going to be the same. Okay, does that make sense? So this and this angle. Okay, so it's not going to be the same. Basically, these two, the sum of these two is 180. Okay, because this is a cyclical quadrilateral. Okay, so the sum of these two is going to be 180. Okay, so we could simply say that angle Q plus angle T is 180, and angle Q is equals to 180 minus 48, and angle Q is 132. Okay, so we have this, we have 132. We need to figure out angle QPR. Okay, so we know that the sum of all the angles in a triangle is 180. Okay, so what we're going to say is that x plus angle Q, which is 132 is equals to 180, and that should give us x is equals to 48 over 2, should be 24. All right, perfect. Moving forward to question number 15. The time taken for each of 200 students to complete a calculation is measured. The cumulative frequency diagram shows the results. Use the diagram to find an estimate for the interquartile range. Okay, so we need the interquartile range. Okay, the formula for which is upper quartile minus lower quartile. So to figure out the upper quartile and lower quartile. So upper quartile is 3/4 of our total cumulative frequency. Okay, so upper quartile would just be 3 over 4 of 200. Okay, that means the 1/50th value. Okay, so 150, and lower quartile is 1 over 4. That would just mean the 50th value. Okay, 1/50th and 50th. Okay, so now we're gonna sort of figure out where the 50 and the 150th value lie. So the 150th value would lie somewhere over here, I suppose. Okay, that's 150, and the 50th value would lie somewhere over here. That's 50. Okay, if we just go, so that's a lower quartile, and as for upper quartile, that is our upper quartile. Does that make sense? Okay, so roughly our upper quartile is around 27, I would say, and our lower quartile is around 16. So 27 minus 16, and that should give us 11. Make sense? It's pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty standard. Okay. So the number of students taking more than 40 seconds to complete a calculation. Okay. So we need to figure out the number of students taking more than 40 seconds. Okay. So we're gonna go over to 40. Okay. And we're gonna sort of find out the cumulative frequency at 40. Okay. So 40 is over here. Around over here is our 40, and this would be our cumulative frequency, which is more than 170 around, but less than 200. So this is around, I would say, so 85, 75. Okay, so this should be around 190, I suppose, or one 192 or 194. We could take sort of any value in that range. Let's go for 194 because it's closer to 200 and it's closer to 180. So let's just go for a middle value. Okay, so we're going to take 194. So 200 minus 194 is 6. All right, rearrange the formula to make h the subject. Okay, it's pretty standard. A is equals to, oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so the formula is A is equals to pi r square plus pi dh. That would mean A minus pi r square is equals to pi dh. That should mean A minus pi r square over pi d is equals to h. And that should give us a final answer of A minus pi r squared over pi d. Alright, perfect. Work out giving each answer in standard form. Okay, so we need to convert these into standard forms. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say that because the bases are same, we could take common, could we not? So we could say 2.1 into 8 whole bracket into 10 to the power of 101. All right, that would mean 16.8 into 10 to the power of 101, 101, and that should give us, okay, so because the bases are same, we could just plus. Okay, okay, this is the correct one. Okay, so what we basically did is we took out the bases and we separate them from the other values. Okay, and then we multiply those other values, and then because the bases are same and they're multiplying, we could just add the powers, right? That's the rule of indices. So that should give us 16.8 into 10 into 202. Okay, all right, 202 plus 1. All right, makes sense. So why did we do plus 1? Because we could just take it back, take the decimal one unit back. Okay, so 1.68 into 10 203. All right, make sense. All right, and we did that. We added 1 because if we just left it like that, that would just make the answer wrong. Okay, if we solve this, we would get that. Okay, that's why. Moving forward, 2.1 into 10 into 2 point plus 2.1 into 10, keep 10's power 100. Okay, so what we could do is if we add 1 power to it, we would have to take 1 decimal place back, right? Make sense? If we add 1 power, we would have to take 1 decimal place backwards so that we could make the powers similar. Okay, so we would say 2.1 into 10 101 plus 0.21 into 10 101. All right, make sense? Now we could just equate the bases because the powers are same. Okay, or we could just take out the common. Okay, so that would mean 2.1 into 0.21 and just take out the common because in this case the powers are same. Okay, the powers are similar, so we just take out the common. So in 10 101. Okay, and that should give us 2.31 into 10. Does that make sense? All right. The diagram shows two sides VA and VB of a regular polygon. AVX is a straight line, angle BVX is Y, and angle AVB is 11.5. Okay, so BVX is Y and AVB is 11.5 of Y. Okay, find the number of sides of this polygon. Okay, so we need to find the sides of the polygon. Okay, so what we're basically going to do is that we're going to say y plus 11.5, y is equals to 180, right? And that would give us 12.5y, and y would be 180 over 12.5, which would give us 14.4. All right, so this would become 14.4. All right, and this would just be 180 minus 14.4, which is 165.6. Does that make sense? So now we have the value of y and the value of 11.5y. Okay, now let's find a number of sides. So interior sides are n minus 2 into 180 over n is equals to the angle, which is 165.5, no, 165.6. Okay, that would give us 180 into n minus 360. Okay, is equals to 165.6 n, and 180 n minus 165.6 n is 360. That will give us 14.4 n, 360. N is equal to 360 over 14.4, and that should give us 25. All right, perfect. I think I've done this correctly. Okay, 360, 14.4. All right, yep, the answer is 25. Perfect. Okay. Describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle T onto triangle W. Okay, so we need to figure out the single transformation that will move T to W. Okay, we need to describe it. Okay, so this is uh, rotation. Okay, so like this is rotation. How much rotation? We can see it's a 90-degree rotation. Okay, so we'd say it's a 90-degree rotation and it is clockwise. All right, and we could also figure out the center of it. Okay, so to figure out the center, we could say that center is 0 comma minus 2. All right, make sense? Is this correct? Okay, so 0 comma minus 2. All right, so 1 2. Okay, all right, so I guess this is correct. We have identified it correctly, so it's the comma minus 2. All right, perfect. Let's move on. Okay, now we need to draw the enlargement of triangle T with a scale factor of minus 2 and the center of enlargement 1 minus 1 comma 1. Okay, so the center of enlargement is minus 1 comma 1. So where is minus 1 comma 1? Minus 1 comma 1 is over here. Okay, now 1 2. Okay, so point A is 2 units from the center and it is how much units? So it's 2 units from the center. Okay, 1 2, and it's 1 unit up, so 2 1. All right, point B is 3 units and 4. Okay, so which just means 1 2 3 4. All right, and 1 2 3. Okay, and point C is 1 2 3 4 and 1 2. And we're going to 4, and we could just multiply this by a factor which is minus 2 minus 2 minus 2, and that should give us new values of ABC, which would be minus 4 minus 2, that's a vector. Okay, and minus 6 minus 8 and minus 4 minus 8. Perfect, makes sense. And then we could just plot it over there. Okay, so if we graph it, we could say first point comes over here, the second point is minus 4 is over here, and third point is over here. Alright, so it will become something like this. Okay, so these are straight lines, and that is T. Okay, makes sense, and that is our center. Perfect. Moving on. Question number 20. Okay, fx is equals to 3 power x plus 2. Find x when fx is equals to 245. Okay, so this is pretty simple and pretty standard. Not such a difficult question. You could say that 3x plus 2 is equals to 245. 3x is equals to 245 minus 2 is equals to 243. 3x is equals to 3, 5. Alright, and we could just equate the two, which is x is equals to 5, and that is our final answer. Okay. Find x when f inverse x is equal to 7. Okay, so f inverse x, so y is equals to 3x plus 2. We could just replace x with y, okay, and then bring it to the other side. X minus 2 is equals to 3 power y, and we could take log on both sides to bring the y down. So log x minus 2 is equals to y log 3. Alright, that should give us y is equals to f inverse x is equals to log x minus 2 over log 3 is equals to 7. Okay, and now if we can figure this out, then f inverse of x is equal to 7. So that means that x is equal to f7 is equal to 3, 7 plus 2, because that's a value, right? So that should give us 2189. Alright, perfect. Question number 21. Write the recurring decimal 0.41 as a fraction in its simplest form. Okay, so 0.41 is a recurring fraction, is a recurring decimal. We need to write it in its simplest form as a fraction. So x would be like 0.41111111, and it just goes on because it's a recurring factor. Okay, so we could multiply it by 10. That will give us 10x is equal to 4.11. Okay, does that make sense? And then we could simply say that 10x is equal to 4.11, and we could say that if we 10x is equal to 4.11111, and if we talk about the original fraction which was x, so we could say minus x. Okay, we could just reduce x from it, 0.41111. That should give us 9x is equal to 3.7. Okay, now it's not a recurring fraction, and x is equal to 3.79, and that should give us, if we multiply it by 10 again. Okay, so first we subtracted by 10, now we're going to multiply it by 10 again. Okay, that should give us 37 over 90, and that is our final answer. 22. Solve the equation tan x plus root 3 is equal to 0 for the range 0, 360. Okay, so tan x is equals to root minus root 3, and SATC. So that is a negative, that is a negative. So that should give us, this is 180 minus x, and this is 60 plus x. So that would give us x is equals to tan inverse root 3 is equals to 60, and tan is in the negative in the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant. Okay, so we're going to say second and fourth. So for the second we're going to say 180 minus 60, and for the fourth we're going to say 360 minus 60, and that should give us 120 degrees and 300 degrees, and these are final answers. All right, moving forward, simplify 2 over y plus 1 minus y over 3. Okay, give your answer as a single fraction in its simplest form. So we're just going to take the LCM. So 2y minus 3, 2y minus 3y plus 1 over y plus 1, and that would give us 2y minus 3y minus 3 over y plus 1, and that should give us minus y minus 3 over y plus 1, and that would bring our final answer to be minus y plus 3 over y plus 1, and that would be our final answer. Moving forward, the diagram shows a triangular prism with cross section triangle BBC. Angle BVC is 90, BC is 5 cm, CV is 4 cm, and AV is 15. Calculate the angle between AV and the base ABCD. Alright, okay, makes sense. Let's figure this out. So, it's a prism with a cross section BVC. So, if we sort of visualize this, this is a right angle triangle, okay, and this is B, this is B, this is C, this would be 4 and this would be 5. All right, so that would mean, if we use Pythagoras, that would mean BB is equals to root 5 square plus 4 square. That should give us 25 plus 16. That would give us root 40. Okay, now calculate the angle between AV and the base ABCD. So AB is this and AC is this. Okay, so alright. So now we have another triangle. If you sort of visualize this, that is okay. So visualization always helps. Okay, and that is a triangle, and that will be a right angle triangle. Okay, that is 15. All right, that is 5. So that would mean, using Pythagoras again, AC is equal to root 15 plus this. That will give us root 250, and that should give us 15.8. So that is 15.8. Alright, so now this angle AB, we need this angle, okay? So we know that this is 15.8, okay? Now you could simply figure out the angle. Again, let's visualize. So this is our triangle, this is B, this is C, this is A, this is 15.8, this is 4, and this is theta. Okay, so we're going to do tan theta is equal to 4 over 15.8. That would give us tan inverse 4 over 15.8, and that should give us 14.21 degrees. Alright, perfect. Moving on to question number 25. Simplify pt minus p minus t plus 1 over 1 minus t squared. Okay, so let's write it down. Let's take out the common first. Okay, so pt minus 1 minus 1 t minus 1. Okay, over 1 minus t squared. So what if we use the identity a squared plus b squared? So we could just say 1 squared over here, right? So that would mean a plus b, a minus b, and 1 plus t squared. So that would mean 1 plus t, 1 minus t. Alright, and that should give us p minus 1, t minus 1 over minus t plus 1, t minus 1. Alright, so we've made it pretty simple. We could simplify, and that should give us minus, okay, p minus 1 over t plus 1. Make sense? Alright, on to our last question, I suppose, question number 26. Yep. In the diagram, O is the origin, OP is P, okay, OQ is equal to Q, R is the point of intersection of PQ and OS, with PR ratio RQ is 1:2 and OR is equal to RS. Okay. Find the position of the vector S in terms of P and Q, give your answer in its simplest form. Alright, so the ratio between PR, so PR and RQ is 1:2. So can we say this is 1 over 3, right? Because this is the sum, 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. It's 1 over 3 and 2 over 3. And it's in this direction. Alright, so we could say that 1 over 3 and 2 over 3. Okay. Find the position of vector S. Okay, so that is vector S in terms of P and Q. Okay, so how do you get this? If we minus P plus Q would give us this, and the same for this. Alright, and we need to find out the position of the vector S. So we could simply write PQ, alright, PQ is equals to PO plus OQ, which would give us the one which we wrote earlier, minus P plus Q. Does that make sense? Alright, this PQ is equals to PO plus OQ, which is equal to minus Q plus Q. Okay, so OS is equals to OR plus RS is equals to DR plus OR is equals to 2 OR. Make sense? Because you have the ratio over here. Okay, and moving forward, OR would equal OP plus PR, which would equal P plus 1 over 3 Q minus 1 over 3 P, which should give us 2 over 3 P plus 1 over 3 Q. Alright, now moving forward, OS, just put in the values, just insert the values, okay? And if we do so, we would get 2 multiplied by 2 over 3 P plus 1 over 3 Q, which should give us a final answer of 4 over 3 if I'm not wrong. Let me check. Yep, 4 over 3. Alright, So I think that's it for this paper. I'm going to see you in the next one. Thank you.